So this is part 2 of solving exponential and logarithmic equations. We are still on number 2, logs on one side. So this time we have multiple logs. So I can't have multiple logs. I have to combine these. So I'm going to use a property. And what the property says is subtraction. Now think about this. When do we use subtraction with exponent rules? Well, when we are dividing. So I'm going to change this into dividing. So I have log base 3, and this is the part kids get wrong. Remember, I'm combining these. So I only want one log base 3. So I'm going to divide m and 2 equals 2. Now, one of your questions should be, what about the bases? What if they're not the same? Well, for us, in this class, they will always be the same. So we can combine 2 logs or 3 logs or however many logs using these properties. And we now know that subtraction means I turn it into log and then divide all those pieces that are after the log and the base. Okay? So again, now I have a question just like I did in A and B. The log is already alone, so how do I solve it? Well, I put it in Venn form. So my base is 3, my exponent is 2, and my number is m over 2. So how do I get rid of divided by 2? I multiply both sides by 2. And I can put that in my calculator, or hopefully I can do that in my head. So 18 equals m. And you should pause this video and check these just to make sure. All right. In letter D, again, we have lots of logs. Fortunately, they're on the same side, so we want to get them together. So how do we get these 2 logs together? What's between them? A plus sign. So when do we add exponents? Well, when we multiply. So I'm going to end up multiplying the things after the log base 8. So I'm going to make a bracket so I can put in parentheses x minus 6 times x plus 6. And that equals 2. Okay? So I have to multiply x minus 6 and x plus 6. Hopefully you already know the answer because those are conjugates. Okay, they are opposites of each other in the middle. So we have x squared. We know that these 2 things cancel, and we have minus 36. Those 2 things cancel because it's the same thing in parentheses, except one's a plus and one's a minus. If that happens, the middles will always cancel. And I guess I shouldn't put x. I should make like stars or something. So I know now I have log base 8 of x squared minus 36 equals 2. How do I undo a log? Well, you write it as an exponent. So 8 to the second equals x squared minus 36. 8 to the second. So I'm going to add 36 to both sides. And again, I can put that in the calculator, or if I can do it in my brain, I have 100 equals x squared. Remember, this is a special kind of equation. It doesn't have that middle term. So I can just take the square root of both sides. And I have to remember it's x squared. So I have 2 answers. So x equals 10 and x equals negative 10. And the reason I separated them is because you are going to pause this video and check. So what you should have found out when you checked negative 10 is that you get an error. It gives you a giant screen that says, hang on, and it's not real. Well, that means you can't have it as an answer. And 10 does work. I get 2, which is what I wanted it to equal to. All right, so we are going to slash that one and reject it, and 10 is our answer. We want that screen out of there. Sorry about that. All right. Letter E and F. They are exactly the same as C and D, so why don't you pause the video and try them. All right, if you had any questions on E and F, please make sure that you ask in class. So exercise 3 is the last, oh, that should be an exercise 4. Oops. That is the last kind of exponential or log equation, and that is probably one of the easiest ones, but yet one of the hardest ones because we don't see it very often. So this is logs on both sides, so you can see, holy cow, there's lots of logs everywhere. And when I look on one side again, I have multiple logs. So the first thing I have to do is combine these logs. You can only have one log on each side in order for this process to work. So to combine these, again, I know that subtraction means to divide. So I'm going to take my log base b, and I'm going to divide 36 and 2. And it equals log base b of x. Well, if they both have log base b on each side, guess what? The log base b's undo each other. So don't cross them off. Just know that it's called anti-log. You're anti-logging. So 36 divided by 2 is 18, and that equals x. So you may want to write yourself a note that right here, logs undo each other. Okay? All right. So what about this next one? Well, now, holy cow, we've got 3 logs on the same side, and oh no, I have addition and subtraction. So addition means I have to multiply those two things, and subtraction means I divide. So I have ln, and then I'm going to do the math. So this says multiply x times x. So I have x squared divided by 3 equals ln of 12. Paper keeps slipping. Well, again, whether it's a common log or a natural log, they undo each other. So now I have x squared over 3 equals 12. So over 3 is the same as dividing by 3. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 3. So x squared equals 36. This is that special kind with no x term or middle term. So I can just take the square root of both sides. So x equals 6 and x equals negative 6. But I need to pause before I finish this video and see if they both work. I cannot assume that one of them does or one of them doesn't. And I'm sure you're saying, my assumption was right for Letty. The negative 6 does not work. It's a reject. Please make sure you're slashing the equal sign, because if you say x equals negative 6 reject, it doesn't equal negative 6. It's a reject. X does not equal negative 6. And then also write a reject. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask in class. Good luck.